Thank you. Hi everyone. Thank you. I'm very glad to be here. And it's a bit impressive, but also very present to be able to share this experience that was very a milestone in my life. First of all, we are in September 2016, and I'm walking in the street on the pedestrian, on the sidewalks, and I won't like to cross the street. So I come close to something that looks like a pedestrian crossing, and at the exact moment I place my foot on the pavement, a car horn blasts through the air. I jump back to come back to the sidewalk as a car passed by just right in front of me. As you can guess, my heart is a bit thumping loudly, and I realized that I've been very close from a very important accident. I hadn't seen that there were a car coming by. I hadn't seen that it was not at all a pedestrian crossing. In fact, it was the middle of the street intersection. And if I hadn't seen all of this, it's because I was blind. And here is a picture of me for 1 week in September 2016. And you would wonder maybe why someone would blindfold himself. Pretty simple. I have a friend who is blind, truly, and she has an accident. Maybe you know, if you take the train quite often, you know there is sometimes a separation, a gap between the train and the platform. And if you don't mind, you could fall into. And that's what happened. She fell. It's a 1.5 meter deep. She's fine today, but at this moment, it very moved me inside, and I realized, okay, Arnaud, you were in the robotic field for years. In the French Robotic Cup, we train robots and we teach them how to avoid obstacles, gap. How could we do it for robots and not for blind? It makes sense for me to try to transfer a bit of technology that are using in autonomous cars to try to apply it to human beings. So that was the starting point, and I figured out that if I want to solve kind of problem, I have to understand it. So the first obvious mean that I found was to try to live for 1 week blind. It's like a simulation, an experience. Of course, it's not truly what a blind person will experience, because there are some factors that occurs only after weeks, and especially if you are blind from birth. But it was very interesting, and if you want to try it, I recommend you to try it for only 20 minutes. Only 20 minutes. It's very, very instructive. It was the worst week of my life, clearly, and sort of a nightmare on few aspects. And if I'm here today, is to share you 3 main discoveries I've made, and 3 discoveries that drive me today or in all of my projects, including my startup. First of all, I would like to guide you through a journey. I will take this tool, which is a white can. You will close your eyes, and I will be your guide to discover a street in the region, in the Paris area. So close your eyes and listen to my voice. You are on the sidewalk. The wall from the building you've just left is on your right-hand side. On your left, you know that there is a road. You're holding your white can onto your right hand, and you can feel the pavement under your feet. It's summer. It's warm. You're wearing a t-shirt, and a light wind is bringing you the sounds of a cafe terrace nearby. It's a pleasant sensation. You decide to move on. As you're walking, your white can is doing its zigzag dance ahead of you, in order to protect you from any obstacle. It's taping on the ground and on the wall on a regular basis. By doing this, you feel sure you can keep walking straight forward without veering off. Everything is perfect. Suddenly, on your left, you hear a loud roaring sound. A car probably just passed by on the road. Seriously, the noise was so deafening, you could have believed it was driving right on the sidewalk. You go on walking. You gain confidence, and you step away from the wall just a little in order to move more freely. When all of a sudden, your white cane hits something strongly. You're surprised. Tapping on this thing, and then checking it with your hand, it feels like a big tree trunk. By being a bit more careful, you realize that you can hear little birds singing. They seem to have a lot of fun right above your head. This discovery validates your theory of the tree. You conclude that all of those nice little birds must be playing on the branches, which probably belong to the trees that are on the sidewalk on your left. You decide to get around the tree by sticking to the middle of the sidewalk, and you resume your journey. 3 steps, 5 steps. Oh, your cane hits something again, and this time it's a metal thing. The sound is very sharp, almost crystalline-like. It sounds like this thing is something very light. You're tapping on it, and oh yes, I know what is it. It's a chair. Your cane is stuck, and you've gotten caged into a terrace of a cafe. You can open your eyes again. How was it? Pleasant or not? This street is the street just next to my home. I place it here. And I'd like to point an interesting fact. In all of this description, maybe you notice it, there were no visual elements. Only sound, smelling, temperature, touching, no visual elements. But I'm pretty sure everyone here had a clear view, a clear representation of the streets, of what's happening. Interesting, no? Interesting to notice that the brain is able to create a mental representation of something you've never been there, somewhere you've never been there, and without any indication of how to build it. And that's the first discovery. For me, during this 1 week, I was first thinking that I would be into darkness for 1 week. But in fact, I wasn't. If you close your eyes for more than a few minutes, you realize that your brain starts to put your memories in front of you, and you start moving around, literally, into your past and into what you know. So in every known areas, I was able to walk through my memories. It was very surprising. But of course, these also have limitations. When someone, for example, in this room, if you move something, or if you are walking on the sidewalk and a scooter is parked on the sidewalk, the mental representation and the reality is not in sync, and your visualization vanished. So you are now in the darkness. My point is, when I try to launch myself into a new project, I think first, oh Arnaud, what are you doing? You've never been there. You can't give a talk in English. You're not good enough in English. And then I rethink. And rethinking, it's good because we all have more resources inside of us, more that we tend to think. And when our limitations are reached, for example, when my mental representation is not quite sync with the reality, there is one option, natural option, ask for help. And it's a good idea to ask for help. And this is the second discovery I would like to share with you. You know the Darwin theory, I think. It's quite known, well known. I think often it's a bit misunderstood. Darwin is about evolution, and we often think that evolution is a competition. The best species will evolve and survive. But in fact, the key to success is not competition, it's cooperation. Why our society is successful today is because we have been able to operate together. And this is the discovery I've made during this week. I was not alone. Human being is capable of an amazing capability of empathy and compassion. And I would like to share you a quote from a colleague of mine. In Panda, in my startup, we have a sort of tradition. Every new colleague, employee, has to live 24 hours blind to feel what it is. It's not to mock, it's not to simulate anything more that, okay, you join us and you have to realize deep inside you that we try to solve a human problem. We are not building a tech tool. We are building something that will help people. And after this 24-hour experience, he told me, this 24 hours in the dark rekindled my faith in human nature. We all have this situation. You are in the metro in Paris in the morning. Everyone with the head down, looking at the screen of the smartphones, and we avoid eye contact the most as we can. And often we can wonder, if something very bad happened, would someone raise up the head to look at me and help me? I can assure you that in a distressful situation, everything changes. Everything changes. And I've lived quite a lot of distressful situations during this week. And to give you a bit of context, I live 30 kilometers away from Paris, about 1 hour and a half to commute morning and night. And during this week, I would like to do a regular work week, scheduling meetings in Paris, in everywhere. And of course, I got lost a lot. And one of these experiences is pretty interesting. I was in the station, lost, and I was very cautious with everything. When you're blind, you're very cautious with everything. You listen to paper on the floor. You listen to steps from other persons. You are try to figure out what's around you. I'm asking, hello, is there anybody here? I need help. And I hear a young lady, not far, telling, yes, I'm coming. She's coming to help me, and she does something very surprising. She takes my hand. We are not very tactile in our society, don't we? Do you have this situation? A big elevator, empty, the doors open, a man step in, and he walks close to you and stop here, few centimeters away from your face. Did you have this awkward moment? And as I said, in a distressful moment, everything changes. When she took my hand, I was happy. In fact, I was happy. It was very full of tenderness. And I feel like a wave of energy coming from her. And I'm very glad because I record this moment and would like to show you. I had the GoPro camera on the torso. So this is the station. And we can see the girl with its phone. And I'm waiting up, and she took my hand. And interesting is probably I would, in a regular situation, never talk to her. Also, this person, she offers me help naturally. Those guys are very nice. I was again lost. And maybe we would never. Yeah, well, of course. It's there. Where? Okay. Often people laugh about themselves, willing to help me and a bit awkwardly trying to take my hand, to move me, often pushing me. Not a good idea. But definitely people were very, very nice to me. And I think it's good to remember that human beings have a lot of good things deep inside. Maybe in our society it's a bit hidden, and because we are all stressed, we are all in lack of time, we go fast. But in these stressful moments, it's good to know that we can count on each other. And when I now start a project, I often try to rethink what are my capabilities. But I also try to think that in all situations, there will be someone ready to help. I think it's very relaxing and important to keep it in mind. And third discovery is the most important one. A bit of background details. When I jumped into this week, I had clearly no idea about what would happen. I had 1 or 2 hours of training with the white cane with a friend of mine, and then I jumped in. But after bumping into walls, bumping into fire hydrants, my niece remembers it. Getting lost, having the feeling of being abandoned, and yes, stepping into a dog poop, took the bus with it, smelling this disgusting smelling, and feeling the passengers reproachful look at me, and finally being nearly run over by a car. I knew exactly what it would be. It was the first day. And trust me, on the second morning, when I had to go out, I was terrified. And even today, when I look at the recording from this week, I can feel my stomach, because it was very terrifying. I think it's kind of traumatic to do it. So, as I said, 20 minutes, not more. But that is said, there is a powerful discovery behind this. On the morning, I take my shoes, I take the camera, I close the door, I take the elevator, I go in front of the door of my building, and then I was stuck, petrified, can't do any more moves, and I don't know how much time does it take, but at a certain point, when I open the door and I step out, everything vanished. I mean, the fear tends to stop me, and when you jump out, when you jump, the fear is still here, but the power is vanished. That's why I like to say the first step is always the more difficult one, but also the more important one. And it runs for everything, I think. Projects, but also sports, and everything. Immobility paralyzes, whereas movement liberates. Action kicks out fear, and that's good to know. In Panda, our startup, we have a motto. It's the French word saute, which means leap in English, or jump. And the first letter from saute is S, which stands for sacrifice. It's a strong word, but a first step, a first leap, is always a sacrifice, but it's what's cost to jump. And I also like the motto from the first RPMA, military in French. It's qui ose gagne, who dares win. This is it. You dares, you win, you jump, and the action kicks fear out. So this is the point I've been trying to make. We all have dreams. Maybe it's taking a trip around the world, start your own business, take a new artistic hobby, take on a sporting challenge, volunteer with an NGO, even going vegetarian. Tested. Whatever the challenge is, I now believe that if I think it enough, and it's come to my mind quite often, I have to rethink, to stop and to rethink why I am not acting on it. And if we are honest, if I am honest, always the reason why I don't move is fear, only fear. That's why the first step is for me very important. The first step is always a sacrifice, but let's make a parenthesis here about dreams. I like dreams. I take them quite seriously. And I know a dream can influence a lot of persons. You remember some famous dream, Martin Luther King, for example? A dream can influence a lot of people. And dreams always fascinating me. Maybe you have been called a dreamer in the past. I've been. And I think there is a huge difference between dreaming and planning. I can dream all of my life going for a trip around the world and doing nothing. I can plan to go for a trip around the world and starting it by typing on Google how to go for a trip around the world. The difference is that, and if I dream today, I try to dream seriously, with enough power, with enough conviction, passion, to turn them into plans that will be able to inspire millions of people. I think that's the most wonderful thing with dreams. In conclusion, I embarked in this adventure without knowing what I was doing, clearly. It was not fun at the beginning, but in fact I've discovered a lot of things on me, on the others, and those 3 discoveries are now driving me for all of the projects I can lead. First, I have more resources in me, and we all have more resources in our, that's what we tend to think. See, this is one of my principles today, and I encourage you when you want to start a project to rethink about your capability. Often, we can do more. 2, cooperation is key to success. For me, it's the most important discovery. We are not alone, and we can choose to be this helper for someone that is building something new, that is leading a project. And I've decided to, whenever I am, wherever I do, whatever I do, to be this hand to help someone that will maybe count on me, and I know I will be able to count on someone else on the project I have to lead. And 3rd discovery, the first step is always the most important one and the most difficult one also. I keep fighting against procrastination, against my tendency to put off my dream till tomorrow, but I take them very seriously, and I take all my effort to convert my dream into plans. And often, sometimes, it creates a startup. I'm convinced that some of us today will take that leap of faith that will trigger major discoveries, major initiatives that will positively impact millions of people. So I would like to conclude with a quote from Mr. Chuck Norris that I'm sure you love like me. And he said, "There really is a hero in all of us. We've all been designed by God to be a blessing to many and a hero to some. But there is only one way to go there: do hard things." We can choose to be a hero starting today. Thank you.
I'd like to have some questions about the product you offer, because like you talked about your experience, which was super inspiring, but what about the product you're trying to build and like how it works?
Okay.
In terms of cognitive abilities.
Yes. Panda is today to the 6th iteration of the product. First of all, we were designing sort of necklace, sort of gloves, and you know when you prototype something, you give it to someone and he says, okay, it's good. No, if it's good, it's bad. it's just nice to you. And so we tried a lot, and now we are building a headset which goes around the neck with a little camera, tiny camera, like a drone one, in the side, which is able to record or take pictures of the environment and to explain it to the blind user. The idea is to help persons in work areas, schools, public transportations, by reading signs, papers, and by identifying objects, recovering them if they fall on the ground, or if your desk, I don't know how your desk is clean or not, but you can then ask Panda to find an item that you have to take. But the idea behind it is, this is Panda today. But my goal is not to create Panda like this. My goal is to help people to regain their autonomy. Maybe tomorrow it will be something totally different, and I'm fine with it. And hopefully one day Panda will be useless, because if we do our work correctly, we will be able to teach person to live without Panda, because it's kind of a re-education process. Yes?
I have a question. So I had never thought of it, but when you said it, it seems almost obvious to you, self-driving cars, and it almost seems obvious that blind people would have this, so I know they don't, because I don't know any blind person who has the similar technology to self-driving car. Did you find other projects doing things like this when you started, or is it really just Panda?
There are a few projects. Most of them came from laboratories, and the goal is not to have a project behind, just a demonstration of what we can do. The challenge is to adapt what the science says, what are the results of experiments, into an affordable product for a tiny market. And this challenge explains why there is not that much project today, not that much project, especially for kids. And what we know today is kids is the key, because the brain, how it evolved, the key phase is between 6 to 10 years old. If you act on this particular stage of development, you can take a giant leap for the future of the person. And if you miss it, or if you try to act later, you will be on a sort of transactional item, and you will be dependent of the tool. And even if it's a good tool, it's more to be autonomous. And our idea is to teach person how to go to fishing without giving fish all the time.
How do you think us as Google could help you to pursue that objective? I think you must know well what are our services. We have media, but we have also many other products about cloud or artificial intelligence. Do you think we could do more to help you to reach your objective?
I think one of the key points is technological. Artificial intelligence is one of the center of Panda today. And we know that Google is doing a lot of research in this field, and particularly in computer vision. So that could be an important step forward if we were able to share resources. We are using also Google products. And then, of course, there are always the capability to generate trust around you, and especially true for a startup in this early stage.
But do you think you will keep your users stuck into like your product, or really helping them to uncover more sense and more of the surroundings?
Yes, this is the question.
Yes, kind of. It's more like, will you adapt to your situation of being blind if there is a product that is here and helps you?
There are a lot of justification and explanation needed to go deep into this question, but few key points. First, the brain is designed to use multi-sensories at the same time. You never use only one. If you see, you tend to hear. If you smell, you tend to find the location of the smell. Always it's a combination. And even for the proprioception, when you touch something with your feet, all works together. So you can't just replace one sense by another, because if you do so, you are hacking the brain natural working. So the idea is to work the same way the brain is naturally working, and if you do so, by training a person on Panda, you will train it for natural situation also. And then the second idea is to adapt what's the feedbacks that come from the environment, and to help person to be in control of the feedbacks that comes. For example, Panda is always sleeping. It's not proactive, it's only reaction. So we have stimulation to help especially kids to move, but it's always the person that will ask for information and process it. It's important. An important topic that we have to address one day is this issue with blind kids who have not the stimulation from the eyes. You see children doing a lot of mess when they are little, because they experience motorization of their muscle, precision of their movements. And this is creating feedback loops between the muscles and what you perceive of your muscle. If you don't see your movements, you lose a lot of calibration of your own body. And this calibration is important because it will help you to be more comfortable in the world, in your moves, in your social interaction. So one important thing we have to achieve with Panda is to try to recreate sort of artificial feedback loops that will help a person to calibrate themselves, and then, hopefully, Panda will be more and more, less and less useful. Of course, there are a lot of things that you won't be able to do, reading especially, identifying faces when they are far from you. But for the whole majority of movements, the idea is to motivate person, giving it side, give them success also, to help them to go further. And by the way, that's why we are working with Ubisoft on this topic, to create a sort of video game experience, but not video game, but experience of winning, gaining success in a virtual environment, to then translate to reality. Long answer.
One question. During that week that you were blind, I'm sure you identified a lot of problems that are not technological problems that can be solved somewhere else. Like for instance, if I'm blind and I'm in a metro station, I have no idea where's the exit, for instance, right? And other things. Did you, from all of those problems that you addressed, did you, contact the Marais of Paris to try to solve any of those, or did you have any?
Yes, there are a lot of projects in the public area and with private companies. A lot of initiative. I think the goal would be to synchronize everyone together, and this is happening mostly with sort of federations of non-profit organizations, with a sort of cluster between companies, between startups, and there is also a big motivation from biggest companies due to low constraints, and due to also what is called the responsibility of the companies for the well-being, for the implication. So I think it's going in the good direction, and I won't solve all the problem by myself, but like in robotics, some people think we will have autonomous humanoid robot from 1 meter from my side, for example. I don't believe in it. I think we will have a lot of teeny robots, very specific and dedicated to their mission. I dream for a humanoid robot like in the movies, but I think it's more efficient to have teeny specialized workers. And it's the same way for this problem of visual impairment.
I can't remember where it was. I read an article a long time ago about a blind person who would ride a bike. I think he might be American.
Yes.
Do you know about this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious if you know anything, because I remember there were some theories in the article that maybe because his parents really said just go ride a bike, they didn't prevent him from doing things, even though maybe it's a little bit dangerous. Their attitude was, well, all kids do things that are a little bit dangerous, and then maybe this was part of his ability to do all these things. Have you learned anything about that? That maybe at young age doing more things somehow affects.
I think I'm not the most qualified to know what it is to teach a kid, especially a blind one, but there is no generality. There are always different cases, and I'm a friend. I've been friends with a blind person, and he's blind from his childhood, and he's able to do the echolocation. So you click your hands or you make sound with your mouth, and you can estimate the distances, the area. When we go into a room, it takes and it tells me, okay, there is no one here. It's about 20 meters square. Whoa, it's very strong. And he's also a flight pilot, plane pilot. That is said, I think we can do more to help kids to use their own abilities differently.
And if I might, you also need to help parents to know
Yes.
that your kids is able to do lots of things.
Mm. Yes. But it's challenging, and especially again because there are not so many, and that's a good and a bad news because you can't mass produce something. It will could cost a lot, but there is a real need. That's the opposite side.
Well, you talked about face recognition,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just thinking about the legal consequences in France for face recognition.
Yes.
Have you deep dive into that? Is that something that you can do?
We have just scratched the surface, but the goal is not to especially do face recognition because you have the voice, and the person doesn't need to have explicitly the name of the person she's talking about. But some situations are a bit awkward. For example, you are in a machine à café, coffee machine, with other people, and one by one they leave, and you now alone, and you continue talking alone. And it's quite a common situation in companies. It's a bit shamey for the person, and we can fix it without exactly identifying person, but we can only say, okay, there were 3 people, then 2, and then no one, and I can still hear the voice of my user, so I will input a teeny vibration to, okay, check there is someone in front of you.
When you analyze the brain of blind people, you can see that some zone of the brain can work differently. Like
Yes.
hearing can take over precise zone of the brain.
Yes, exactly.
Did you make the experience with your tool to see how the brains react when you have another element that comes into?
From my week experience?
No, I mean with blind people.
Okay. Yes. The remapping of the brain is something that could occur very strongly only for the kids. If you are blind in the childhood, when you are adult, it's not that strong. It's more something anecdotic. But in fact, indeed, for the kids, it's very important. And I know a software developer who is blind and deaf. He has the both, and he is able to read 2 lines of a book at the same time, and on the same moment, because he hears a bit, listen to you. Because he's blind for the birth, and so he's able to, the brain is remapping. But on the other side, there is a lot of damages on the proprioception, on what we call sensors calibration. For example, if you have speakers all around you, and I will move a sound all in direction, and I will ask you to raise your hand when the sound is moving. For a blind person, the gap is more important. The angle of detection is more important than for a sighted person. That's something that you can compensate and re-educate. And it's important to re-educate, and I was thinking that the remapping of the brain was great and like a superpower. But in fact, it's like of mitigate. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Is it answering?
Yes. Does it answer? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Yes.
coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arnaud.
Thank you, Pierre.